The sun rises over a city of marble and brick, of towering columns and crowded streets, of emperors and slaves, of glory and decay. For centuries, we could only imagine what it truly looked like. We read the ancient texts. We walked through crumbling ruins. We stared at fragments of mosaics and tried to picture the whole. But now, for the first time in 2,000 years, we can see it again. Artificial intelligence has opened a window into the past, reconstructing ancient Rome in breathtaking detail, revealing not just the grand monuments, but the intimate corners of daily existence. Today, we walk those streets once more. Today, we live as the Romans lived. Imagine standing at the heart of the Roman Forum around the year 80 AD, during the reign of Emperor Titus. The Colosseum has just been completed. The empire stretches from the misty shores of Britain to the burning sands of Egypt, from the forests of Germania to the deserts of Mesopotamia. Rome is the center of the known world, a city of over 1 million people, the largest urban settlement humanity has ever known. And every morning, as the first light touches the Temple of Saturn, this ancient metropolis awakens to the rhythm of a civilization that would shape the future of mankind. The Reconstruction begins not with emperors or generals, but with an ordinary Roman citizen named Marcus. He lives in a modest apartment on the 4th floor of an insula, one of the towering residential blocks that house most of Rome's population. These buildings, often 5 or 6 stories tall, are the skyscrapers of the ancient world. Through AI recreation, we can now see exactly how they looked. The ground floors hold shops and taverns, their wooden shutters opening onto narrow streets, still wet with morning dew. Above them, floor after floor of small apartments climb toward the sky, their walls of brick and concrete, their windows without glass, covered only with wooden boards or cloth to keep out the cold. Marcus wakes before dawn. His room is small, perhaps 10 feet by 12, with a low ceiling and a single window facing an interior courtyard. There is no running water here, no toilet, no kitchen. The walls are plain plaster, though in wealthier apartments they might be painted with scenes of gardens or mythology. His bed is a simple wooden frame with a mattress stuffed with wool or straw. A clay oil lamp sits on a small table, its flame extinguished hours ago. The air smells of smoke, of cooking from the floors below, of the thousands of bodies living in close quarters throughout the building. AI reconstruction shows us the remarkable engineering behind these structures. The Romans perfected concrete, mixing volcanic ash called pozzolana with lime and water to create a building material that would outlast the empire itself. The insulae were practical marvels, designed to house as many people as possible in a city bursting at its seams. But they were also dangerous. Fire was a constant threat, and the upper floors, where the poorest lived, were the most vulnerable. Building codes existed but were often ignored. Collapses were not uncommon. Yet for Marcus and millions like him, this was home. He dresses quickly in his tunic, a simple garment of wool that falls to his knees. Over this, he drapes a toga if the day requires formal business, though most common Romans wore only the tunic for everyday activities. His leather sandals are worn but serviceable. He splashes water on his face from a basin filled the night before and descends the creaking wooden, stares past doors behind which other families are stirring past the graffiti scratched into the walls messages of love. Political slogans, crude jokes that have survived 2 millennia. The street outside is already alive with activity. Through AI visualization, we can see Rome's streets as they truly appeared. Narrow, winding, and incredibly crowded. Most are barely wide enough for 2 carts to pass, and during daylight hours, wheeled traffic is actually banned from most of the city. The Romans understood urban planning in ways that seem remarkably modern. They designated pedestrian zones, regulated building heights, and created elaborate systems of one-way streets. Yet the chaos was unavoidable. Street vendors cry out their wares. Barbers set up chairs on the sidewalk, shaving customers in the open air. Butchers hang their meat from hooks, flies buzzing in the morning warmth. The smell is overwhelming, a mixture of roasting food, animal waste, incense from a nearby temple, and the ever-present odor of unwashed humanity. Marcus makes his way to a thermopolium, the Roman equivalent of a fast food restaurant. AI reconstruction reveals these establishments in vivid detail. Loo-shaped counters set into the street, with large clay pots called dolia embedded in the stone, keeping food warm throughout the day. Here, Marcus purchases his breakfast, a simple meal of bread dipped in wine, perhaps with some cheese or olives. Hot porridge is available, along with stews and roasted meats for those with more money to spend. The walls behind the counter are painted with images of the food on offer, ancient menus that archaeologists at Pompeii have preserved in remarkable condition. This is where ordinary Romans ate most of their meals, since cooking in the insulae was dangerous and discouraged. As the morning progresses, Marcus joins the flow of humanity moving toward the Forum. This is the heart of Roman public life, and through AI recreation, we can now experience its full magnificence. The Forum Romanum stretches before us, a rectangle of sacred ground surrounded by some of the most important buildings in the ancient world. The Temple of Saturn, with its 8 massive columns of gray granite, guards the state treasury. The Curia Julia, the meeting house of the Senate, stands nearby, its bronze doors gleaming in the sunlight. The Rostra, the speaker's platform decorated with the prows of captured enemy ships, rises at one end, where orators address crowds of citizens on matters of law and empire. The Reconstruction reveals colors we never expected. Ancient Rome was not the white marble city of our imagination. It was a riot of color. Temples were painted in brilliant reds, blues, and golds. Statues wore realistic flesh tones, with painted eyes and rouged lips. The columns that appear bone white today once shone with rich pigments. Bronze lettering on buildings caught the light. Awnings of purple and crimson shaded walkways. The Forum was a visual feast, a testament to the wealth and power of the world's greatest empire. But the Forum is also a place of business. Bankers conduct transactions in the shadow of the Basilica Julia, a massive hall of justice where civil cases are heard. Money changers sit at their tables, converting currencies from every corner of the empire. Lawyers argue cases before magistrates. Politicians campaign for office, their supporters distributing bread and promising entertainment. This is democracy Roman style, chaotic and corrupt, but remarkably functional. Every citizen, no matter how poor, has a voice, though wealth and patronage determine how loudly that voice is heard. Marcus works as a clerk for a grain merchant, one of the most important businesses in Rome. The city imports vast quantities of wheat from Egypt and North Africa, distributed free to citizens through a complex welfare system called the annona. Without this grain, Rome would starve within weeks. The logistics are staggering: hundreds of ships crossing the Mediterranean each year, massive warehouses along the Tiber, an army of workers loading and unloading cargo. AI visualization shows us the port of Ostia, Rome's gateway to the sea with its hexagonal harbor, built by Emperor Trajan. Its lighthouse modeled after the famous Pharos of Alexandria, its warehouses stretching along the waterfront like the fulfillment centers of an ancient Amazon. By midday, the city slows. Romans follow a pattern of life dictated by the sun. The morning is for work, the afternoon for leisure. Marcus finishes his duties and makes his way to the baths, the great public institutions that defined Roman social life. Through AI reconstruction, we enter the baths of Trajan, one of the largest complexes ever built. The scale is almost incomprehensible. The main building covers more than 25 acres, with gardens, libraries, and exercise grounds extending even further. Inside, rooms of various temperatures await: the frigidarium with its cold pool, the tepidarium with its warm water, the caldarium with its hot baths, heated by an ingenious system of underground furnaces called hypocausts. This is where Romans of all classes mingled. The baths were relatively cheap to enter, and the poor bathed alongside the wealthy. Here, Business deals were struck, gossip was exchanged, and friendships were formed. The walls were decorated with mosaics depicting sea creatures and mythological scenes. Statues of athletes and gods stood in niches. The sound of splashing water, conversation, and laughter echoed off the vaulted ceilings. For a few hours each day, even the poorest Rome could experience luxury that modern spas struggled to match. But Roman daily life was not only pleasure. Religion permeated every aspect of existence. AI reconstruction reveals the countless temples, shrines, and altars scattered throughout the city. The Romans worshipped hundreds of gods, from the great Olympians like Jupiter, Mars, and Venus, to minor spirits who protected doorways, crossroads, and individual households. Every home contained a lararium, a small shrine where the family honored its ancestral spirits. Before every meal, a portion was offered to the gods. Before every journey, prayers were said. The Romans lived in a world alive with divine presence, where every success was a blessing and every failure a sign of divine displeasure. The Pantheon stands as perhaps the greatest religious building ever constructed, and AI visualization reveals its original glory. The massive dome, still the largest unreinforced concrete dome in the world, soars 142 feet above the marble floor. The oculus at its center, a circular opening 30 feet across, lets in a shaft of light that moves across the interior throughout the day, a celestial calendar marking the passage of time. The walls are covered with precious marbles from every corner of the empire: yellow gallo antico from Tunisia, purple porphyry from Egypt, green cipollino from Greece. Bronze decorations, long since stripped away, once adorned every surface. This was not a ruin, but a temple of breathtaking magnificence, a statement of Roman engineering genius and religious devotion. As evening approaches, Rome transforms again. The ban on wheeled traffic lifts, and suddenly the streets fill with carts and wagons bringing supplies into the city. The noise is tremendous. Juvenal, the Roman poet, complained that it was impossible to sleep in Rome, that the sound of wheels on stone kept everyone awake through the night. Oil lamps flicker in windows. Torches illuminate the entrances to wealthy homes. The insulae grow dark, dangerous places after sunset. Crime was rampant in ancient Rome. There was no police force, no street lighting for common neighborhoods. Those who ventured out after dark risked robbery or worse. Yet for the wealthy, evening is when entertainment truly begins. AI reconstruction takes us inside a Roman domus, the private home of an aristocratic family. We enter through a narrow passage into the atrium, the central hall open to the sky, with a pool called an impluvium catching rainwater below. The walls are painted with elaborate scenes gardens that never existed, architectural vistas that fooled the eye, mythological narratives that educated and entertained. Mosaics cover the floors, their tiny tesserae creating images so detailed that from a distance they appear painted. In the triclinium, the dining room, couches are arranged around three sides of a low table, where guests recline to eat a meal that might last for hours. The food served at a wealthy Roman dinner party defies imagination. Dozens of courses might appear, from simple eggs and olives to elaborate constructions of meat and fish, seasoned with garum, a fermented fish sauce that Romans used the way we use ketchup. Dormice fattened on nuts were a delicacy. Flamingo tongues were served at the most extravagant feasts. Wine flowed constantly, mixed with water and sometimes flavored with honey or spices. Entertainment accompanied the meal: musicians, dancers, poets reciting verses, acrobats performing feats of agility. For the Roman elite, a dinner party was theater, a display of wealth and cultivation designed to impress guests and reinforce social hierarchies. But we must not forget those who made this luxury possible. AI reconstruction reveals the darker side of Roman life with unflinching clarity. Slavery was the foundation upon which the empire rested. Perhaps 1/3 of Rome's population consisted of enslaved people, owned as property, bought and sold like cattle. They worked in homes and fields, in mines and mills, in conditions that ranged from comfortable to horrific. Some slaves rose to positions of responsibility and eventually won their freedom. Others died in anonymity, their bones mingled with garbage in mass graves outside the city walls. The great monuments we admire were built by forced labor, by human beings whose names history has erased. The Colosseum, Rome's most iconic structure, embodies both the glory and the brutality of Roman civilization. AI recreation shows us the amphitheater in its original state, with its 80 entrances, its seating for 50,000 spectators, its elaborate system of awnings called the velarium that shaded the crowd from the sun. Underground, a labyrinth of tunnels and chambers housed animals and gladiators, waiting to emerge into the arena through trapdoors in the sand-covered floor. Here, for the entertainment of the masses, men and beasts fought and died. The Romans watched these spectacles with pleasure, their appetite for violence sanctioned by religion and justified by tradition. This, too, was daily life in ancient Rome. As night falls over the reconstructed city, we pause to consider what artificial intelligence has revealed. It has shown us a civilization of staggering achievement and troubling contradictions. The Romans gave us concrete and aqueducts, legal codes, and representative government. They built roads that still carry traffic 2,000 years later. They created a model of urban life that cities still follow today. Yet they also enslaved millions, glorified violence, and pursued conquest with relentless brutality. They were not better than us, nor worse. They were human, as we are human, capable of both greatness and cruelty. The technology that allows us to see their world so clearly is itself a kind of mirror. We use artificial intelligence to understand the past, just as the Romans used their own technologies to shape their present. They looked back at the Greeks and forward to eternity, believing their empire would last forever. It did not. The Forum crumbled. The temples fell silent. The insulae collapsed into rubble. For centuries, Rome was a shadow of its former self, its monuments quarried for building stone, its memory preserved only in books and legends. But now, through the patient work of historians and archaeologists, through the power of algorithms trained on millions of images and texts, that world lives again. We walk its streets. We smell its markets. We hear the voices of its people echoing across time. And in doing so, we understand something profound about ourselves. We are not so different from the Romans. We build our own monuments. We wrestle with our own contradictions. We dream our own dreams of permanence. The final image of our reconstruction shows Rome at dawn, the mist rising from the Tiber, the temples catching the first light, a city of 1,000,000 souls stirring to face another day. They could not know that their world would one day vanish, that their descendants would forget the very names of their streets and gods. And neither can we know what future civilizations will make of our own world, our own monuments, our own daily lives. Perhaps someday, they too will use technologies beyond our imagining to recreate what we have built and lost. In that sense, Rome never really fell. It simply transformed, its spirit passing like a flame from generation to generation, its lessons echoing through centuries, its story waiting to be told again and again. As long as human beings look back into the past and wonder what it meant to be alive in another time, in another place, in a world that has vanished but never truly disappeared.